If I could give only one piece of advice to people that were early in their life, and maybe for those further along too, it would be to keep on learning. Never stop learning. The human brain is built with the capacity to learn its whole life long, and if it stops, it's not because it's lost its ability to, it's because people have lost the motivation to. Michelangelo is one of my heroes. He was a failure in elementary school. He did doodling when he was supposed to be doing mathematics and figures, and he finally got apprenticed and he learned to paint. He was so good at it that when someone came to his master's studio and noticed the corner of a painting that Michelangelo had done, this observer said to the master, "Your new style is even better than your old." And Michelangelo's mentor was so angry he punched him in the nose. Michelangelo moved on. He had a fabulous patron in the Medici family where he learned to sculpt. And he had some real adversity in that too, but he picked up a new skill. And by the time he was 24, he sculpted La Pieta, which is this amazingly emotional piece of stone and artwork. One day when the Duke had died and he thought his patron was gone and his son had not the same interest in art, the son came to him and Michelangelo went to the young Duke and said, "I need stone." And the Duke wasn't so interested, but it had snowed in Florence, which was rare. But he pointed to the snow, and the young Duke was having a party that night, and he said, "There is your stone, sculpt from that." Well, Michelangelo could have been angry, but instead he went out into the courtyard, and throughout the day he packed the snow together into a solid mound and he sculpted it. When the Duke came back, the young Duke came back, he was astounded, and he looked at this sculpture of snow and he said, "Snow, and yet not snow." Not long after that, the Pope seconded Michelangelo to Rome to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. He had never done fresco painting before, which is where you plaster a section of wall or ceiling and then you put the paint in it and it's absorbed right into the wet plaster and it becomes part of it. So he hired the 4 most prominent painters of fresco in Italy at the time, but within 6 months he'd fired them all because they couldn't do good enough work for what he wanted. There was a problem with scaffolding because they needed to continue to hold the chapels in the chapel, and so he designed a special kind of scaffolding that would brace itself against the walls that none of the engineers of the day could design, but he did. And so he did this amazing work. He lived to be 90 years old. He was one of the architects of St. Peter's Church at the Vatican. He was just amazing. He was a multi-talented man, but he just kept learning and learning and learning. And he broke the boundaries sometimes on that. For example, grave robbing was against the law and immoral too. And so the Pope had invited him to live at the Vatican, had given him an apartment, but Michelangelo loved studying these dead bodies. That's how he got his anatomy so good in his paintings and in his sculptures. And one day the Pope came in late at night because Michelangelo, he wasn't intimidated by the Pope and was happy to talk to him. And the Pope came bursting into his apartment late one night and found 2 grave robbers, Michelangelo, and a corpse. The Pope was furious and kicked him out and said, "Get out of here, you can't live here anymore." He banished him, and 3 weeks later he wrote him a letter and said, "I've forgiven you, come back to work." Michelangelo was so certain of what he wanted to do and so passionate and committed to exactly what he wanted to do that his yes was really big. And so some of the other boundaries were a little bit softer around his life. I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything illegal, but it's great to live with that kind of clarity about who you are and that desire for learning, because that will propel you throughout your life. Keep learning, never stop learning.